Shop the Sherwin-Williams Super Sale and get 40% off paints and stains September 19th through the 24th. With prices starting at $29.39, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a stack of compelling sources, mainly looking at today's national newspaper headlines from El Salvador.
That's right.
Our mission, as always, is to really sift through the daily news, pull out the most important nuggets of, knowledge, and understand the bigger picture, what's shaping the country right now. We've got a particularly complex, sort of multi-layered story about municipal markets today. It touches on finance, law, high-level politics. It's quite something.
It really is.
And then we'll broaden out, look at the other significant stories on the front pages. Okay, let's unpack this.
Indeed. We'll be blending those critical national issues, some significant economic shifts, and diving deep into that market situation you mentioned.
Right.
It truly exemplifies the intricate connections between things that might seem unrelated at first glance. It's a story with pretty profound implications, for public funds, urban development, and just the daily lives of countless vendors and citizens. Then we'll move into a concise but hopefully insightful overview of other national and select international headlines, just to give you that well-rounded picture of today's news.
Thursday, September 18th, 2025. Good news. We're growing a lot with new listeners. Thanks to everyone who follows, listens, and collaborates on this new project. A shout out to those in the United States, in Los Angeles, New York, Portland, Texas, Florida, and San Francisco, and to everyone in El Salvador.
Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast, a space for conversation and reflection where we explore current events in El Salvador and the world.
Find us for free on YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, or your favorite podcast platform.
You can also find us on PayPal. Our username is in the description of this podcast. Remember, this helps us continue our hard work and pay the bills. We'd be grateful for your help, as it also helps others listen.
We are News El Salvador SV. Follow us, share, and comment. Okay, let's jump right into what is arguably the most complex and, financially significant story-making waves in today's El Salvadoran papers. The ongoing saga of the San Salvador municipal markets. This isn't just some local story. It's a real deep dive into a financial labyrinth. We're talking millions of dollars, political figures, and the potential loss of public assets.
Absolutely.
We'll start with a very recent and, frankly, quite astonishing municipal action. Back on September 14th, 2022, the San Salvador City Council, led by Mayor Mario Duran, agreed to pay a hefty sum, $8 million.
$8 million.
And the goal, to regain majority control of this company called Nuevos Sistemas de Mercados, or
Semeric.
This transaction boosted the city's stake in Semerica from just a minority 25% share up to a controlling 75%.
And what truly stands out about this whole development is the apparent paradox, right?
Exactly.
The city is paying this significant sum, $8 million, to take control of an entity that was already, struggling profoundly.
Deeply struggling.
Deeply. Semerica is deep in the red, reporting nearly $500,000 in losses just by the end of 2024 alone.
Wow.
And this isn't just, a minor deficit. The company is severely over-indebted. It's carrying a staggering $55 million debt to a Guatemalan bank, Banrural.
$55 million.
$55 million. A burden that dates back to February 2020. And what's more, 3 crucial capital city markets are directly mortgaged to secure this loan.
So public assets.
Exactly. Public assets, which should ideally be serving the community, are directly at risk. And the struggles aren't just at the corporate level,
No.
No, we're seeing over 100 vendors, the very people who make these markets work, facing lawsuits for unpaid rents.
Oof.
Which paints a pretty clear picture of systemic issues. It's impacting not just municipal finances, but the livelihoods of everyday citizens. It really suggests a fundamental problem with the market's operational model or its management structure, long before the city decided to step in with this $8 million.
That's a huge paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why on earth would the city acquire a majority stake in a company that's not only burdened by massive debt and ongoing losses, but is also, suing its own vendors?
It's a critical question.
You could argue, maybe, that the city felt compelled to intervene, right, to prevent a complete collapse, maybe protect the properties or the vendors. But that price point, $8 million, it certainly raises eyebrows.
It really does.
The immediate implications for municipal finances are pretty clear. This $8 million payment, which, by the way, is nearly a third of the cost of building just one of those markets, the Mercado Hula, it's a substantial injection of public money into what looks like a failing enterprise.
A significant gamble.
And for the vendors, it just introduces this whole new layer of uncertainty. Will the city's majority ownership stabilize things? Will it provide relief from the lawsuits, maybe set up fairer rents? Or will they just inherit all the existing legal battles and financial woes?
And potentially pass those costs on.
Exactly. Pass them on to the vendors, or ultimately us, the taxpayers. It feels like the city bought a very, very expensive problem, and the public is just left wondering about the strategic rationale behind it all.
Precisely. This acquisition raises those critical questions about how public funds are being allocated and, what kind of due diligence was actually performed.
Right.
If a company is already reporting substantial losses, has this huge external debt, the rationale for paying that much for a majority stake, instead of, say, letting it fail and renegotiating from a stronger position, it needs a very clear justification.
Which we haven't really seen.
No. And the existing financial distress, plus those vendor lawsuits, it points to fundamental issues with Samarca's business model or management. The city is basically inheriting these problems directly, and for you, the listener, it's a direct financial consequence. This $8 million comes straight from the public purse. It's taxpayer money invested into a venture that, well, on the surface anyway, appears to be a major financial liability.
Okay, so to really get our heads around how we got to this rather precarious point, we have to rewind a bit.
Yeah, go back to the origin.
Let's trace this back to Nayib Bukele's time as mayor of San Salvador from 2015 to 2018. His administration really heavily promoted this idea, right, that building new modern markets was the key to solving the persistent problem of informal commerce in the capital.
A major platform promise.
Definitely. The vision was transformation, providing dignified spaces for vendors, streamlining urban trade, and this aspiration led to a public-private partnership with a company called Direct Security System, or DSS. And that led to the creation of Samarca. It was all presented as this innovative solution, leveraging private capital, private expertise, to tackle a complex urban challenge.
And this is where the origins become quite, revealing.
How so?
In April 2016, DSS was designated as the city's private partner, which is notable because DSS itself was only 10 months old at the time.
10 months old?
Yeah, a very nascent entity for such a huge public venture. You might even say an unproven one.
Definitely unproven.
Then, on September 27, 2016, the City Council formally constituted Samarca, and the structure was quite asymmetrical. DSS was granted 75% of the shares, Series B shares, while the municipality kept just a minority 25% stake, Series A shares.
So 75-25, private majority from the start.
Exactly. Now, Series A and Series B often denote different share classes, different rights, but the key takeaway here is just the stark numerical imbalance. DSS had the overwhelming majority.
Okay.
Crucially, the agreement also ceded the usufruct, basically the right to use, benefit from, and profit from 3 valuable municipal properties.
Which ones?
The Mercado Hula, the Predio Ex Biblioteca site, and a location in Escalon.
Prime real estate.
Absolutely. The promise was that these private partners would bring in substantial capital and expertise to build 3 new markets on these publicly owned sites.
Okay.
But what's truly fascinating here are the early political connections woven into this deal.
Here we go.
Key individuals involved in Samarca's first board included Conan Castro.
The name sounds familiar.
Right. He later became Bukele's legal secretary in the presidency. And also Edwin Patricio Núñez Alguera, who is currently the president of Etisol, the state-owned electricity company.
Wow. So high-level connections right from the beginning.
Their presence really highlights the intertwining of political and private interests from the project's absolute inception.
So from the very start, we see this setup where a, frankly, brand new private company gets majority control and the right to profit from valuable public assets, while the city, the municipality, is stuck in a minority position. What were the inherent risks there? I mean, especially with an unproven company and public properties on the line, it sounds like a huge gamble.
Oh, it was.
Giving up 75% control in the usufruct just based on a promise of future development, it put the city in a really vulnerable spot if DSS didn't deliver, or if things went south financially.
Which they did.
And the involvement of those politically connected figures, it just immediately raises questions about, the transparency and fairness of how DSS was even chosen for such a critical public project.
Exactly. The inherent risks were indeed substantial and, well, they materialized over time, didn't they?
Exactly.
A minority municipal stake meant the city had very limited practical control over key operational decisions, financial decisions, even though it was contributing these strategic urban assets.
Right. The land.
Ceding usufruct to a nascent private entity, especially one with those strong political ties, introduced potential for conflicts of interest and
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Super Sale and get 40% off paints and stains September 19th through the 24th. With prices starting at $29.39, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Frankly, a severe lack of stringent public oversight. The entire venture relied heavily on the private partner's ability to secure financing, manage construction efficiently, and then operate the markets profitably. And as we've seen, those assumptions just didn't hold up.
Leading us to where we are now.
Leading us right here. This structure effectively privatized the potential profits, or at least the control over them, while socializing a significant portion of the risk and the debt. Risk and debt the city is now directly assuming.
It's a textbook example, isn't it, of how, if they're not meticulously structured and overseen, these public-private partnerships can just shift the financial burden disproportionately onto the public.
Precisely. It's a cautionary tale.
Okay, now let's fast forward a bit to February 11th, 2020. This seems like a really critical juncture in the whole saga.
A pivotal moment.
Under the effective control of DSS, Simrica made this monumental decision. It mortgaged those three valuable public properties, Hula Ex Biblioteca, Escalon de Ban Rural, at Guatemalan Bank we mentioned, for a staggering $55 million credit line.
$55 million, secured by public land.
And the architect behind this whole operation was a Mexican businessman named Enrique Sanchez. He was a DSS executive and also Simrica's legal representative.
Right, and when we connect this to the bigger picture, it just raises serious questions about oversight, accountability, especially considering the potential conflicts of interest.
Like what?
Well, what's particularly striking is that Simrica then proceeded to contract another company, Mayock, for the construction of the three markets. And Mica, it turns out, is also owned by Enrique Sanchez.
Oh, come on, really?
Yes. So the executives of Simrica, who spearheaded the $55 million mortgage using public properties as collateral, then hired his own company to do the construction work.
That just screams conflict of interest.
It's a classic example of an interested party transaction. It often creates a severe lack of what's called arm's length dealing. It makes independent oversight incredibly difficult and, raises immediate red flags about fair pricing, quality of work, and ultimately where the funds are going.
It just consolidates immense power and financial incentive in one person's hands.
Exactly.
So what happened to that $55 million? That's a huge amount of money, especially secured against public assets. Where did it all go? Do we know?
Well, officially, the fate of that $55 million is reserved information by the city council.
Reserved. Meaning secret.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Secret from the public. This lack of transparency means the public has no clear understanding of how these significant funds were dispersed.
But is there any information?
The only public breakdown available, which seems to be based on Sanchez's own credit application to Ben Rural, shows $34 million supposedly earmarked for construction and remodeling of the three market centers.
Okay, that's part of it.
But then there's a curious $21 million designated to pay an unidentified Simrica creditor.
$21 million. To who?
Unidentified. The identity of this creditor, the nature of the debt, It all remains shrouded in secrecy, despite the enormous sum involved, despite public assets being the collateral.
That level of opaqueness just actively prevents any kind of public scrutiny or accountability.
It really does.
So basically, a huge chunk of money, $21 million, just sort of vanished into a black box, paid to someone we don't know for reasons we don't know.
That's how it appears from the publicly available information, yes.
That's just incredible for a project involving public assets and such a massive loan. It leaves the public wondering if funds were truly used efficiently or even for their stated purpose at all.
It absolutely is incredible. The lack of public disclosure about how that $55 million was used, especially the $21 million part, it fundamentally undermines public trust. It makes it impossible to verify the proper use of funds intended for public infrastructure.
And this secrecy seems to be a recurring theme here.
It is. We often see this when public-private partnerships lack robust transparency mechanisms. It allows for potential misuse, or at least the strong perception of it. It's a significant challenge to democratic accountability, really.
Okay, so what's the current state of these projects then? The ones that were supposed to be built with this massive investment. Are the markets actually built? Are they operational, serving the community like they were supposed to?
Well, as of early September 2025, so very recently, only one of the three markets is operational. That's Mercado Hula Hula.
Just one?
Just one. It was inaugurated back in July 2022 and reportedly cost about $25 million to construct.
Okay, so one is open. Is it doing well?
Well, and this is another critical point. It is currently operating at a loss.
Oh, great. So the one market that's open isn't even profitable.
Apparently not. And the other two promised markets, the one at the Purdue-X Biblioteca site and the one in Escalon, they remain unfinished.
Still unfinished after all this time and money.
Still unfinished. And there's no clear public timeline for their completion. So what you have is this massive loan secured by public assets, significant public investment, one operational market that's losing money, and two others just sitting there unfinished. All of it shrouded in financial secrecy.
It just paints a picture of substantial underperformance, doesn't it? Compared to the initial promises and the huge financial outlay.
Underperformance is putting it mildly. It's a deeply troubled situation.
This whole thing sounds like a recipe for disaster. But the risks, the potential risks, they don't stop there, do they?
Unfortunately not.
Let's talk about a truly crucial development.
Yeah.
This emerged just months before the city actually bought back those shares. Banrural, the Guatemalan bank, holding the mortgage.
Yes.
They approved the share buyback transaction, but they required significant modifications to the mortgage.
Ah, okay. What kind of modifications?
Well, the original guarantee for the $55 million loan allowed the bank to seize Simerca's shares and its income if the company defaulted.
Right. Standard procedure often.
But after the city upped its stake to 75%, Banrural moved to secure its investment even further. They now hold what's called the nuda propiedad.
Nuda propiedad. Bare ownership.
Exactly. Bare ownership of the properties themselves.
Wow. Okay, that changes things significantly.
It really does.
This raises an incredibly important question for you, the listener. If Simerca, which is now majority controlled by the city council, defaults on that $55 million loan,
Then what?
then the municipality would effectively lose ownership of the three markets. They wouldn't just lose control of the company, they'd lose the actual land and buildings.
They'd become property of the Guatemalan bank.
Precisely. They would become the outright property of Banrural. This is a severe implication. It represents a direct and significant risk to public assets.
Explain nuda propiedad a bit more. What does that practically mean?
So, nuda propiedad fundamentally means the bank holds the underlying ownership rights to the properties. The city still has the usufruct, the right to use them, collect revenue as long as the loan payments are made.
But if payments stop?
If payments stop, the bank can claim full ownership. They can effectively seize public land and infrastructure. It's an incredibly powerful form of collateral that puts the public's actual real estate directly on the hook for a debt incurred under that prior private majority arrangement.
So this could mean the irreversible loss of valuable city land and infrastructure.
Yeah.
What was meant to be a public investment could just become a private bank's asset.
Exactly. All because of the financial mess of this public-private partnership.
So even with the city now owning most of Simerca, the actual ground beneath the markets could be pulled out from under them if the company can't pay back that massive debt.
That's the risk.
That's a truly chilling scenario for public finances and, municipal autonomy. It transforms what might have looked like a rescue of the company into a potentially much bigger financial liability. The city could end up losing way more than just the $8 million it paid for control. It just highlights how complex and potentially disastrous these deals can become if they're not structured with absolute clarity and maximum protection for the public interest.
A very hard lesson, potentially.
Thursday, September 18th, 2025. Good news, we're growing a lot with new listeners. Thanks to everyone who follows, listens, and collaborates on this new project. A shout out to those in the United States, in Los Angeles, New York, Portland, Texas, Florida, and San Francisco, and to everyone in El Salvador.
Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast, a space for conversation and reflection where we explore current events in El Salvador and the world.
Find us for free on YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, or your favorite podcast platform.
You can also find us on PayPal. Our username is in the description of this podcast. Remember, this helps us continue our hard work and pay the bills. We'd be grateful for your help, as it also helps others listen.
We are News El Salvador SV. Follow us, share, and comment. Moving on, the intricacies of this Semerca deal don't just end with the finances and the risk to public assets. There's a whole other layer, isn't there? Political and legal battles just beneath the surface.
Oh, yes. That gets even more complicated.
Take Mayor Mario Duran, for instance. He declared the municipal agreements that authorized that $8 million share purchase as reserved information.
Kept it under wraps.
Totally. He even went so far as to explicitly ask the prosecutor's office and the court to collect and present this information with due protection, basically ensuring it stayed confidential out of public view.
Which, for such a significant public expenditure, especially involving a troubled company and potentially vulnerable public assets, that level of opacity is, well, concerning for any democratic process.
Absolutely.
And what's truly striking here is that tension, right, between the public's right to know and this desire for confidentiality, especially when public money is involved.
So how did we even find out about the $8 million?
Well, the only reason that information about the share purchase even came to light was because it got revealed in an ongoing criminal case against Enrique Sanchez for fraud.
The DSS guy.
The same one. He was being sued by his former partners at DSS over an alleged $9 million scam.
Wow. So it only came out through a separate legal fight.
Exactly. And this illustrates a recurring challenge, Information that really should be public, particularly about taxpayer money, often only surfaces through courts or investigative work when these internal battles erupt.
It just raises fundamental questions about governmental accountability and transparency when critical details about these big public-private deals are deliberately kept secret. It makes it impossible for citizens to judge if the decisions were prudent.
It really does.
And the plot thickens even more, right? Enrique Sanchez himself, he was briefly detained back in March 2022 on those fraud charges.
That's reported.
And there was a police report, picked up by several media outlets apparently, stating he was released just hours later, reportedly with assistance from the then Secretary of Legal Affairs, Conan Castro.
Conan Castro again, who was on Semerca's first board.
The very same. And then the police later deleted that report, tried to erase the record.
That's what was reported, yes.
Yeah.
The initial report mentioning Castro's alleged involvement was removed.
This whole sequence, high-profile detention, rapid, seemingly assisted release, then deletion of public records, it just adds to this sense of a system operating behind closed doors. It raises serious questions about influence, about the equal application of justice.
It certainly fuels speculation and distrust, and these legal maneuvers just keep complicating the picture and underscoring the lack of transparency.
How so?
Well, DSS, the original private partner that controlled Semerca, reportedly tried to transfer its remaining 25% of Semerca shares to another Sanchez-owned Guatemalan company called Mackensa.
Trying to move the assets around during the dispute.
It appears so. It was reportedly part of that larger fight between Sanchez and his former partners. But in November 2022, the San Salvador Second Instruction Court ordered a freeze on that transfer.
Okay, so the court stopped it.
Yes, preventing Sanchez from moving those assets while the legal battle was ongoing. But the criminal case itself, despite all the public interest, the high-profile figures, it reportedly concluded with a secret conciliation in December 2024.
Secret conciliation, meaning a private settlement.
Essentially, yes. A settlement reached out of court, the terms of which were not made public.
So, again, no public closure or accountability.
Exactly. The lack of disclosure about the terms of that settlement just amplifies the opacity surrounding the entire Semerca venture and all the legal battles. It means that despite the significant public interest, the use of public resources, the full story and its resolution remain largely hidden. It just perpetuates that cycle of speculation and distrust.
So you got legal fights over ownership, fraud charges, high-level political connections buzzing around, that brief detention and release, and ultimately a secret settlement. It all weaves together into this incredibly intricate and, frankly, somewhat shadowy narrative around Simrica. So many unanswered questions for the public.
A very tangled web.
Okay, but let's shift focus slightly now. There's a related but distinct development that seems to point towards a broader government strategy for how markets are managed.
Right, moving beyond just Simrica.
On August 26, 2025, President Bukele inaugurated the Mercado San Miguelito. This was a separate project, a market managed by the Director of Municipal Works, the DOM.
And that project had its own controversies too, right? A dismissed construction company, delays.
It did. But with the inauguration of San Miguelito, the president also launched something new. The Dirección de Mercados Municipales, the DMM.
A National Market Directorate.
Yes, a new office established right within the presidency.
Okay. And when we connect this to the bigger picture, what does it suggest?
Well, it seems to suggest a move towards a centralized approach for market management, potentially moving away from those complex, problematic public-private models like Simrica.
How would it work?
Under this new structure, it seems all municipalities across the country are expected to cede the administration of their local municipal markets to this national DMM.
Cede administration.
Through something called a comodatum agreement.
Comodatum, essentially a loan for use. Right?
Exactly. It's like a type of gratuitous loan where the DMM gets the right to use and administer the markets without paying rent, but typically with the obligation to maintain them and return them if the agreement ends.
So this is a huge shift, centralizing control over vital public infrastructure that was traditionally under local municipal control.
It really is. It represents a very top-down approach to a sector that's historically been managed locally.
A profound move away from decentralized models or those messy PPPs towards a fully centralized national administration run directly from the presidency. What are the political implications of that, and how's it being received, especially by the vendors who actually work in these markets day to day?
Well, the budget for this new Directorate of Markets has already been approved, which signals a clear governmental commitment to this centralized strategy.
Okay, the funding is there.
But this centralization comes with its own set of challenges, its own unanswered questions, especially from the vendors who are going to be directly affected.
What are their concerns?
Specifically, there are reported concerns about local rental fees, crucial for their livelihoods, and also about the mandatory declaration of IVA, the value-added tax.
Right, potential changes to their costs and tax burdens.
Exactly. Vendors are reportedly uncertain about how these changes will impact their daily operations, their profitability, their financial obligations.
Yeah.
It suggests that while the government might be aiming for a more streamlined, centralized approach, the on-the-ground realities, the detailed implementation for the market vendors who are critical stakeholders, still need to be addressed with a lot more transparency and clarity.
So it could streamline operations, potentially improve standards nationally, but it also consolidates power at the national level.
Right. And it could remove local input from market management, which might have really varied impacts across different municipalities. Some might prefer local control, others might welcome the national oversight.
A major policy shift with potentially far-reaching consequences.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, let's broaden our scope now. Let's take a snapshot of other significant national headlines from today's Salvadoran newspapers.
Right.
Just paint a mosaic of current events shaping daily life.
Right.
First up, a really pressing issue that affects so many households, always makes headlines: water supply challenges.
Yes, water. A persistent and critical concern, and it's featuring prominently again today. Reports indicate NDA, the National Water Authority, they're deploying the largest quantity of water tankers they can muster as part of a contingency plan. This is due to ongoing pipeline repairs causing widespread disruptions.
So people are relying on water trucks again.
In many areas, yes. Concurrently, the government is reportedly accelerating work in Apapa to restore water supply to the greater San Salvador area. They acknowledge the urgency.
How long are people expected to be without water?
Well, NDA is predicting the system rehabilitation will take approximately 3 days for San Salvador. That's a long time without reliable running water.
3 days is tough.
It is. And furthermore, there's been a leadership change. Dagoberto Arevalo was sworn in as the new head of NDA, suggests maybe an attempt to bring fresh impetus to these long-standing problems amidst the current crisis.
A new leader at a critical time.
But unfortunately, a significant portion of the San Salvador metropolitan area, the AMSS, is currently grappling with a 3-day water outage right now, following a repair failure. It's a stark reminder of how fragile these essential services can be.
So what does this all mean for you if you're living in one of these affected areas?
Well, it means the daily scramble for water, doesn't it? For cooking, cleaning, hygiene. It means potential health risks if people resort to unreliable sources. And it's a significant economic burden if you have to buy expensive bottled water or just wait and hope for those uncertain tanker deliveries.
It's more than just an inconvenience.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fundamental disruption to daily life, and it constantly highlights that ongoing challenge of maintaining essential infrastructure for public well-being.
Okay. From essential services, let's turn our attention to security and justice updates. Always a prominent, highly scrutinized topic in the national news.
Right. On the security front, there is some positive news being highlighted. El Salvador reportedly recorded 13 days with 0 homicides in September 2025.
13 zero homicide days this month.
Yes, and this statistic is often emphasized by government officials as a key measure of improving public safety, the effectiveness of current strategies.
Of course, for our listeners, it's always worth considering these numbers in the broader context, right? Long-term trends, not just isolated daily counts.
Absolutely. Context is crucial. However, the papers also detail individual incidents that show ongoing challenges. There are reports of traffic fatalities, a man killed in Apostepec, another in San Vicente Sur, a fatal accident on the Comalapa Highway, just reminders of the daily risks on the roads.
Tragic incidents.
Yes. And the justice system is also active. Reports mention a 50-year prison sentence handed down for a feminicide in Chalatenango, underscores the severity of such crimes and the judiciary's response. There are also reports of arrests, gang members trying to evade justice, others arrested for making threats, shows ongoing efforts to maintain order.
What about broader legal or electoral matters?
Well, the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, the TSC, apparently still needs to define the additional budget required for the 2027 presidential election. That's a critical step for future democratic processes, figuring out the funding.
Right.
And additionally, the Court of Accounts, the CCR, and the Attorney General's Office, the PGR, they signed an agreement to promote training and transparency programs. Indicates efforts towards strengthening institutional oversight and maybe building public trust in legal and financial accountability.
Okay, interesting. Next up, let's explore the economic pulse of the nation. Some key business news making headlines, giving us insights into how El Salvador's economy is performing, how it's evolving.
Yeah, the economic landscape presented today is a bit of a mix. Some encouraging data, but also areas needing continued support.
Like what?
Well, a significant statistic indicates that 57.3% of remittance recipients in 2025 are women.
Over half.
Yes. It really highlights the crucial, often underappreciated role women play in the economy, supporting families and communities with funds sent from abroad. Remittances remaining just a cornerstone of household income for so many.
Absolutely vital. What about businesses?
Business owners, meanwhile, are expressing good expectations for exports and year-end sales. Suggests some optimism in certain sectors, maybe driven by improved conditions or strategic positioning.
Okay, some positive sentiment there.
El Salvador has also certified 10 new companies as trusted operators. This can significantly boost international trade by streamlining customs, enhancing confidence in their supply chains.
Good for trade facilitation.
Definitely. Looking at smaller businesses now vital for job creation, the Labor Council is set to propose extending incentives for micro, small, and medium enterprises, the MYPEs, to banks.
Trying to improve access to credit.
Exactly. That's a perennial challenge for small businesses. This initiative aims to make it easier for them to get loans. And furthermore, for the first time apparently, the president is reportedly financing MYPE funds directly. Indicates a concerted effort to stimulate this crucial economic segment.
So what's fascinating here, as you said, is the mixed signals.
Great.
Strong remittance data, business optimism. But alongside that, this explicit need for banking incentives and direct government financing for MYPEs.
It really speaks to the diverse dynamics of the Salvadoran economy. Some segments are thriving, while others still clearly require government and financial sector support to grow and stabilize.
It reflects an economy in transition, doesn't it? Striving for broader, more inclusive growth while still addressing existing disparities.
A complex picture for sure.
Okay, quick overview now of political and legislative developments. Things shaping the country's governance and future direction.
Right. In the political sphere, today's papers report that deputies from the Nuevas Ideas Party reportedly advanced their salaries before their departure from Parlacen, the Central American Parliament.
Advance their salaries.
Yes. Now, while that might be legally permissible, the optics of public officials getting early payments, especially during a transition, it could be seen as controversial.
Yeah, optically tricky.
The Legislative Assembly has also approved naming the National Public Security Academy, the ANSP, after Commissioner Mauricio Arriaza Chicas. A significant honor recognizing his contributions, but maybe also draws attention to that close relationship between the legislative and security branches. President Bukele, in his public statements, also emphasized education and values as key for El Salvador's future, points towards a focus on social, moral development alongside the economic and security pushes.
Okay. Anything else on the legislative front?
Yes, there was the approval of an additional $10 million for penal centers.
$10 million more for prisons.
Yes, a decision that typically generates discussion about government spending priorities, the ongoing commitment to security and incarceration policies, especially given all the recent efforts to control gangs.
Right, always a point of debate. So these items collectively offer a glimpse into legislative priorities and the ongoing political narrative shaping the country.
Exactly.
And finally, let's wrap up our national review with some engaging cultural and sports highlights. A lighter but, equally significant look at the heartbeat of El Salvador.
Absolutely. And here's where we see some truly remarkable national achievements and developments. Get this. Los Hermanos Flores are confirmed to perform at Coachella 2026.
Wow, Coachella. That's huge.
Isn't it? A massive milestone for Salvadoran music on the international stage. Signals growing global recognition for their vibrant sounds, their cultural influence. It's got to be a source of national pride and just exciting for music lovers everywhere.
Fantastic news. What else?
In sports, Municipal Limeño announced Jorge Rodriguez as their new technical director for the rest of the Apertura 2025 season. A critical leadership change for the team.
Okay.
The Salvadoran Football Federation, FESFUT, is launching an anti-racism campaign. This follows complaints from Surinamese players. It's addressing an important social issue within sports, showing a commitment to fair play and respect.
Good to see that initiative. International sports.
Internationally, Lionel Messi has apparently reached an agreement to renew his contract with Inter Miami. So his star presence continues in the U.S. League, keeping global football interest high.
The Messi effect continues.
Indeed. On a less positive note, Real Madrid's Marco Asensio will face trial for diffusing sexual videos. A story highlighting the personal challenges, the legal entanglements even high-profile athletes can face.
A difficult situation.
And lastly, INDS, the National Institute of Sports of El Salvador, has allocated $1.5 million to national teams, supporting athletic development, supporting the country's aspirations in various sports.
So these stories really highlight both the celebratory and the challenging aspects of national life, don't they? Significant cultural achievements alongside ongoing social and ethical issues in sports reflects a diverse daily reality.
Very much so.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground nationally. We dove deep into that complex Samarca market saga, then scanned the landscape of other vital national headlines. And let's just take a brief look at some global events. Things that might resonate or inform our understanding of the world beyond El Salvador's borders.
Certainly. A quick scan internationally. In diplomacy, papers reported King Charles III bidding farewell to the U.S. president in Windsor. Also noted an exchange of compliments between Trump and King Charles III during a state banquet. The continued dance of international relations, the soft power of global figures.
Standard diplomatic movements. What about the economy?
On the global economic front, a significant move.
Yeah.
The U.S. Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the first time in 2025.
Oh, first cut this year. Why?
Attributed to employment risks. This is a big move that can have ripple effects globally, potentially influencing currency markets, trade, investment flows, even in countries like El Salvador.
Definitely something to watch. Tech and science.
An asteroid, nearly 300 meters wide, passed close to Earth. A celestial near-miss that always grabs attention, reminds us of the vastness of space.
I'm always a bit unnerved.
And tech giant NVIDIA is investing $5 billion in Intel for joint data center and PC projects. Significant collaboration in the semiconductor industry signals future directions in computing power.
Big money and chips. Politics globally.
Politically, Trump designated the anti-fascist movement as a terrorist organization in the U.S. A controversial move, obviously, with broad implications for domestic policy, civil liberties debates. Elsewhere, leaders are gathering in South Korea for the 11th World Peace Summit, focusing on international cooperation, dialogue, a counterpoint perhaps to some of the more contentious stories.
Aye.
Unfortunately, Bolsonaro has been diagnosed with cancer while under house arrest in Brazil. adds a somber note to political news from South America.
Sad news there. And social issues.
Reports from Cuba highlight ongoing daily struggles. Blackouts, water scarcity, accumulated trash reflects persistent systemic challenges for its citizens.
Difficult conditions.
And also concerning reports of the chemist drug described as turning young people into zombies appearing in Cuba. Signals a potentially new, deeply troubling public health crisis.
That sounds awful.
And finally, a sobering statistic. More than 100 environmentalists were killed or disappeared in Latin America in 2024. Underscores the extreme dangers faced by activists working to protect our planet and the region, a critical human rights issue.
A stark reminder of the risks people take. Wow, that's a truly comprehensive sweep of today's headlines, isn't it? From that intricate market deep dive to the varied national and international stories.
A lot going on.
It really paints a picture of ongoing development, significant challenges, moments of both local triumph and global concern. We've seen how public-private partnerships can get incredibly complex, how essential services face daily struggles, the very pace of economic and political life. So what does this all mean for you as you consider all the information we've presented today?
Well, I think this deep dive into today's news really raises an important question, doesn't it? When we see the immense financial and political resources being invested in projects like those municipal markets, navigating incredibly complex partnerships, huge debt, legal battles yet at the same time, we read about these fundamental issues like widespread water shortages,
Yes.
persistent vendor disputes, the daily struggles of citizens just to access basic services.
Yeah.
What does it truly say about the priorities and the complexities of governance? How do you, the listener, weigh those grand narratives of national transformation and ambitious projects against the daily realities reflected in these very pages?
It's a balancing act.
It compels us to think critically, doesn't it? Not just about what information is presented to us in the news, but how it's framed. Think about the underlying systems at play that shape these outcomes, and maybe question how effectively public resources are truly serving the most fundamental needs of the population. Food for thought.